Okay, we're now recording.
Right.
Hi, Kev.
Morning,
So
Callum.
we just had like a 5-minute chat before I realised that we weren't recording this conversation.
Yeah, that's
so we're
all
now
right.
recording.
I'll recap on everything I said. Yeah.
Well, our conversation started in Teams, didn't it? Because we work together, and I said to you, what's the most interesting and successful projects you worked on? And
yeah.
and I thought you said something that was the most simple was the most successful. So maybe share what that was and go.
Yeah. So like I said, so the most simple idea, we started 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago now, on a Royal Devon next to Green Team competition, which we decided to enter. So it was just a bit of a distraction from our normal job, and we thought, okay, this is the right thing to do. Let's see what we can do on the wards. So a very simple idea was, bearing in mind this is 5 years ago, we were using plastic teaspoons, single-use plastic teaspoons, to the tune of about 900,000 a year, which came at a cost, used once and then just thrown in the bin. So we thought, why don't we just simply buy metal teaspoons we can reuse? So we did that. We ordered it down to the finer details of, we were keeping an eye where they were going. We'd lose 2 spoons a day. They'd go somewhere, don't know where they'd go. But it was still cheaper and more efficient to rebuy every now and again.
Right.
And you were creating no waste. It was a very simple idea. I can't remember what the actual savings were from that. There's been some estimations of £80,000, but I'm pretty sure it was not anything near that. I don't know. I need to look back. It seems so long ago now. But the thing is, now plastic teaspoons have been banned in most places, right, as well as plastic straws. But at the time they hadn't. So we were actually doing the right thing then when they hadn't been banned. So and then the second idea was a really successful one where patients would order orange juice at lunchtime in a 85ml carton with a plastic straw. I found out what we were paying for that. We're paying 12 pence a unit. So they simply obviously consume the drink, throw it in the bin, creates waste. So we thought, well, what else can we do? So we looked at buying orange juice cartons and a reusable tumbler that gets dishwashed, puts through the dishwash at the same volume, 85ml, and that worked out 4 pence a unit. So that in itself got rolled out, and that was a saving of £39,000 just with the orange juice per year. Yeah. So that's ongoing savings. And again, the plastic straws have now been banned, but 5 years ago they hadn't. So that was we were sort of ahead of our time a little bit on that one.
Pioneer.
Some things might not sound that great now because they've actually banned these items, which is great that they have.
Yeah.
But at the time, we identified that and done it. So we just identified other things around the ward, just like plastic straws, and replace them with paper straws. I was the first. So it's hard to believe now that I was the first person to have a recycle bin on the ward. I had a split bin because we didn't wish to recycle. We used to recycle cardboard only and nothing else. So I did a trial and just educated people to say, look, this obviously it's a split bin, it's a recycle bin one side and a domestic bin the other side. Please choose where you think items should go. Yeah. And I kept that running for a few months to say that of what people were putting in the bin, 75% of it could have been recycled rather than going into general waste. Again, I thought, I was a bit naive then because it was quite new to me. I thought that's great because we get income from recycling, but it doesn't work that way. You actually pay for the items to be processed unless you start segregating bits and pieces like aluminium cans, which you can get a revenue for. It's having time and the space to do that. I mean, that's another problem as well, finding time and space. Virgin plastics or high quality plastics you can segregate and get money for, but at the minute it goes to a company called Biffa, and I think we pay them to process our recycling, I believe, right, and they will then take what they want from it. That's how they're making their money. But
so is recycling a loss, would you say, overall, or a gain?
It's not been done properly. It's sort of it is a loss, but if you can then take elements from, I mean, some of the things I'm going to say, it sort of works hand in hand to what we're trying to do next. So we're looking at a food hydrator. This is a dehydrator. This is a really quite interesting one. where all of your food waste at the minute gets put into 240 litre bins and then gets taken away at £14 a bin. And annually, we're paying about £16,000 from that. If you had a dehydrator, it's early stages where we're thinking, whether do we buy one, do we lease one? It reduces your food waste by between 80 and 90%, and it turns your food waste into usable compost, which you then can get an income from. So if say you put in 100 kilos of food, you'll get about 20 kilos of usable compost over a period of 12 hours. So then we can then start segregating where we're putting food waste. So we've got food waste bins on the ward environment only, but not in like offices. So if we could divert all the food into this system, that takes away what's going into your general waste. If we can cherry pick virgin plastics, high quality plastics, and aluminium cans and get an income from that, that would then obviously be less that's going in your general waste and recycling waste, which obviously you have to pay for. So it's stuff we're working on. It's a bit, it's like we have to go back to basics of like educating people, because people they rightly try to recycle what they think they can, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you're led to believe this is recyclable, but it's not actually recyclable. So you need to strip it back to educating people what they can and can't recycle.
Right.
Finding space to segregate, finding them. It's all sort of early stages, I mean, because I've been in the post for this post as a sustainable officer for about 5 months.
Right.
But I've been interested in that sort of stuff for like 5 or 6 years. Right, so okay. It's early stages, but we're going the right way. So yeah.
Sure. Well, it sounds like it requires cooperation from staff that are using recycling bins and waste bins and things. It's not as simple as, it's not automatic, is it? Right.
No.
It's what education required.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a training package in the north for all staff about recycling, but there's not currently in the east. We haven't got enough recycle bins anyway, because if you've got a general waste bin, people will just use the general waste bin. If you've got a choice between a general waste and a recycle, at least people then think they can choose what they think. So it just needs it needs a full sort of back to basics almost a little bit to
it's huge though, because I think as a consumer or as a member of staff at the hospital, I still don't really know what I can recycle, and it's not always really clear. So, and I didn't know all of that you just said about how we pay for the processing of the recycling to figure out what can be used and what can't. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Because when people come to work, it's not their first thought. Whatever role you're in, your first thought is to do your job.
Right, yeah.
Not to think about what to recycle and what to waste and how to reuse things. And
exactly.
But when you're in a sustainable job, you look at everything. So yeah. So it's just trying to educate people. So, I mean, I don't know what else you want to speak about. We've got like a list of small work items. Some have been done and implemented, and some are just sort of early stages, but we're going in the right direction to get things achieved.
As you've already finished and delivered the projects to replace plastic spoons with metal spoons and the orange cartons, it'd be cool to focus on that and talk about how did you get from the point of all plastic spoons and orange juice containers to the point of all metal spoons and the jugs of orange juice. So where did you start? What was the first thing you did when you identified?
So that was something it was quite hard, because we went through that green team competition. We ended up winning the first one that they did, which was great, and we just thought, that's great, everything we said will be automatically rolled out in the trust, we don't need to do anything more. Right. It wasn't the case. So we had to go to the relevant sectors to who it belonged to, like catering or estates, wherever it went. We had to then just ask, can this be a thing? Can we do this? Is this possible? And we just thought they'll take it on board and just think, we'll do it for you. Again, it wasn't that easy. I think people are because I think the sustainability part of it is still sort of fairly new to people, but it's gathering momentum. And back then, people weren't really thinking that way. They were just trying to get maybe their job done. But the odd few would listen, and it took a senior medical member of staff to get the orange juice because he believed in what we were doing. And I don't know where, because I was ward housekeeper at the time, I don't know where he took it, who he spoke to. He just argued the case for us and got it done for us and made it happen.
Right.
With the and that was with the metal spoons and the orange juice. Now I'm in a sustainable role in the transformational team. It's a bit different now because I'm still learning, but you know how to approach, who to approach, network more, have a lot of contacts, know who your stakeholders are. And it's a very simple process. What I like to do is just to get everyone together, talk briefly about what I'm proposing to do, see who's on board, and then just keep catching up and let's just do it. So it's a different process, but it's you sort of know how to do it now. It's sort of, if you have an idea, you know the relevant people to, and include everyone as well. To just explain what we're trying to achieve, the pros and cons. Is everyone on board? What can you do next to help this happen? That sort of process. And it's a bit, so some things are very easy to do and some things will be a bit time consuming. So
well, that sounds like a really good thing to learn from your experience with the in your ward housekeeping role. That's cool. And I know you got loads of projects going on and already delivered some, haven't you? So
it's good to have a lot of, I think I won't be out of ideas because ideas are coming in all the time. It's thinking about which ones to do next. You can do quick wins, which is great if they take a short period of time, but there's some really quite meaty ones you need to keep sort of focusing on and just keep, and it's sometimes you could just keep chipping away at people, where are we, sort of almost like pestering people to where are we next, what do you want, and then saying what do you want from me to, what should I do next, what else do you want from me to help this along. So I'm happy to sort of help. So and we do got problems as well where the other people, if you are, because this transformational team is quite new, if you are working on a project that's in a sector like domestics, estates, catering, whichever, sometimes people can get a bit protective about what you're trying to do, but we're just here to help. Budgets get mentioned about who's saving the money. I don't really care who's saving the money as long as the trusts are saving the money and use me to help anything along. So it gets a bit, so some things aren't as easy as others, and some things some sectors are very up for it and say, right, great, let's do this. So but there's a lot of projects. I mean, do you want me to go through a list of projects that I'm working on in a minute, or some things that we've done already, or
yeah, sure. It'd be interesting to see the progression from what you did then to what you're working on now.
So some of the items are, they've got a big cost savings, and some are like a big reduction of wastes with not much cost savings. So, but that's fine. That's to have both is brilliant. To save money and to save waste is the ideal scenario. But sometimes you just know you're doing the right thing by reducing a lot of waste. So the orange juice and the metal teaspoons were a thing which we've done, which we've discussed. One of the other things was the ward pantry stock items. So some people were buying their own branded stock of cornflakes, Rice Krispies, whatever they wanted to buy. Single packs of 1s, packs of 4s, 8s. So we basically just wanted big bulk packs, unbranded, as long as they met the nutritional needs and the dietitians were happy, infection control were happy. Can we just uniform the whole trust, ward pantries, into buying bigger, bulkier packs, reducing waste from buying sort of single? So you were just buying the same products, but you're just buying them bigger packs, basically. Can we do that? Single-use packs of biscuits, can we buy bulk biscuits and kept in Tupperwares to keep them fresh? So that sort of work. But again, supply chain sometimes interferes where they can't always get the stock, so it sort of defaults back to the original way. So again, it's a bit of like, if you can't get something, please don't replace it with individual packs. Just try to buy something similar, We need to we were trying to just have less waste. So that sort of thing that worked quite well. We were using a company or a brand called Morn Crunch or Morn Flake. They were happy with the nutritional needs that it had of contents. But as you couldn't get the stock now, it reverted back to Kellogg's single packs. Right. So it's something you need to keep an eye on. But I think procurement now have a sustainable buyer. So looking at everything that we're buying, how sustainable is it? Where did it come from? Is it cost effective? But is the quality still good? Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kev. Are procurement responsible for buying those things, or is this something that falls with the ward and the manager on the ward or something like that?
Logistics will get items from supply chain, who predominantly will top up our wards. But if you wanted anything else, you'd go through procurement to identify a product for them to put into circulation if you needed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I'm curious because the cereals example just seems like a no-brainer to buy it in bulk, which is less waste and possibly cheaper.
Yeah.
But it obviously requires a change of process or a change of working habits. And so what process had to change and who has had to change the way that they work to make that happen?
So we had to work with the ward housekeepers to say that this is what we propose to do.
Yeah.
When you've got 30 housekeepers, like anything, you're not going to keep everyone happy. Someone will have if 20 people think that's a great idea, 10 might be thinking, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah.
But you have to ask the infection control for the portion packs. Is it an infection control risk if we're going into like bulkier packs? And then also dietitians. Are they happy with the nutritional content if we're changing brands? Right. And just to keep them updated, you always need to keep people in the loop to what's going on. You can't just go around changing things, because some things I could just do. I could just change myself and say we're doing it, and then they would get wind of like, what are you doing? Or why have you done that? So you just need to keep everyone involved. Sure. Like I say, when you're in the business of making changes, you're not going to keep everyone happy all the time.
Right.
But you need to just try to educate and explain why. We're not done it just for just a weird reason. We're doing it there is a reason behind this. There's a lot of thought gone into it. It's not just thinking of bang out an idea. It's just like it's been a couple of months of just planning and thinking, is this a good thing? So basically just find out who the stakeholders would be, making sure you don't leave anyone out, and making sure everyone's on board and everyone's give you permission to do so.
Sure.
So, the next one we did was the to streamline the reupholstery. The reupholstery for like couches, chairs, office chairs, patients' chairs, benches was a quite long, drawn-out affair where you'd have to raise a ticket for estates initially to say I need something repaired. That would sit for a little while. It'd go to the company for a quote for the relevant item. Then it would go to a cluster manager saying, look, could we have the money to do this job? Then it would go back to say, this is going to cost you this much. Yes, you can have the money. Then the company would get called out to do the job. That would take sometimes a couple of months and involve probably too many people. So I've streamlined it at the minute where I've put every single item or most items of reupholstery on our ordering system, Unit 4, so people can simply place the order. That just gets approved anyway, because there's an approver on Unit 4 to approve what you're spending. Once they say, yeah, fine, it goes to the company to come in and do the reupholstery job, and then they get paid. A purchase order is raised and they get paid. So I've had somebody just order from maternity 4 chair seats to be reupholstered. So the time they took and placed the order to the time that Suttons came in to do the work took 2 weeks, as opposed to probably 2 months.
Wow. Okay.
And they'll turn that around in about a week. So it's going to be it's going to be weeks rather than months, and it involves less people. So to gauge the savings there, it streamlined the system, so it involves less people. It's quicker. discourages people from buying new because they can't sometimes wait for something to be picked up or processed. And I think we'll have to gauge on how much more reupholstery we're doing to how much less furniture we're buying. And also there's prompts where I try to cover all angles to stop people disposing of furniture.
Okay.
So there should be on a disposal forms now, if there's anything that is furniture to be disposed of, it'll go questioned. Why are you disposing it? Why can't you reupholster it? That could be reupholstered, take it back and have it done. And on the ordering system, there should be prompts now to stop people buying, not stop people buying new furniture, but asking why do they need new? What was wrong with the old piece of furniture they had? Has it been condemned? Fair enough if it has. There's a disposal cost if it's just they don't want it anymore and they just wanted something new. So there's a lot of elements there. So yeah.
That's really cool, and something that I would never have considered before. I'd never thought about the fact that we would buy furniture as an organisation and the costs involved in that. So that's interesting.
So the reupholster is, some things are different than others, but the reupholster is cheaper than buying new, and then you don't get your disposal fees when you try to dispose of some of an item. Yeah.
Sure, and you've also improved. It sounds like you've improved the efficiency of the existing reupholstery process.
So that's just made it, streamlined it, so people can just say, I took it to the lady first who ordered, and I showed her what you have to do, and she said, what next? And I said, that's it. She said, oh my God, that's so much easier. I'm like, right. So I'm just hoping this works fine, because she was my guinea pig, and it seems to be working fine. So that's a good one. Yeah. But that took a little while, with the help of cluster managers, estates department, procurement for placing all the new ads onto the ordering system. So it took it was almost a couple of months that took, but it was worth it in the end. But it wasn't too much of an effort. It was an initial few meetings with all the relevant people involved, asking permission, asking, are they happy this we proceed with this? Got ticks from everyone, so it's a thing now. So then we stopped the facility of having to go through estates to order reupholster or log them as jobs. So that element's on the drop-down toolbar has gone for reupholster, or it should have. But they know not to go through estates anyway. So yeah,
that's awesome.
So they'll be rediverted to ordering system. Yeah, right. I mean, there's a lot of ideas that we've. I don't even want me to go through a lot of them. There is about 30. So.
Oh my God. Okay.
There's a lot. I can just please. Basically give you the titles of each one in a very brief. These will be like work in progress or what we're working on next. So, the only one we did actually finish off was a more encouraging people when they're dining in our outlets to have a china mug, and then asking the staff to ask people, are they dining in? Because predominantly they were given paper cups, which they sit in with, which used to drive me mad, and then throw in the bin, non-recyclable, because they've got that polymer filling inside. It's because, again, the paper cups, people think we'll just recycle them, but they have got that element of plastic. Technically, they can be recycled, but it takes an awful lot of effort, and a lot of companies out there won't bother with that for something that's not that valuable, which is very going to be time consuming. So we're just trying to, I really wanted to revamp the food outlets where we can encourage people to bring their own mug, because we spent £40,000 a year on paper cups in our outlets in the East.
Right.
And that generates about £2,000 worth of waste. So we had an idea where you making sure your profit margins are there, you're making sure you're still making money, but can you encourage staff for an incentive to bring their own mug in? If they're dining in, they get a china mug. Can they buy a travel mug from our trust, get their first coffee free, but incentive for bringing in their travel mug back and forwards? But then it sounds a bit mean, but then pay a levy or discourage people from buying paper cups by putting that price up and not having any sort of incentive like a loyalty card stamp that goes with it.
Right.
So this is something we're sort of looking at, just to reduce the waste. So it's just to discourage people from buying takeaway cups. So bring your own mug, bring your favorite mug. It's just, you know,
it
might be nicer. It might be nicer. I think they're trialing it. What they're doing in the north, I think the trialing is bring your own mug to your cafe first, just to see how that goes.
Okay.
With a discount of 25p a cup.
Okay, so you're positively incentivizing the use of your own mug rather than punishing for not using it.
So my way was the punishing part, but if it works, it works. However we can do it, it's just let's see how this trial goes. And to see will that encourage people to bring their own mug in rather than thinking I'm not paying for a paper cup. Or my way was like, you will pay for a paper cup, but you'll pay quite heavily for it because we don't want you to use it.
Well, maybe both.
Yeah.
Will work.
I mean, there's things around that won't keep everyone happy. They see what we're trying to do. We're just trying to reduce the waste.
Sure.
If people are taken off site, how could we do that? We have to be quite clever. If people go in a bit of a distance, say, I want a disposable cup because I'm taking it, a bit of a distance away.
Sure.
What could we do then? Could they bring in a travel mug so it wouldn't spill? Yeah, there's ways. There's going to be everything you do. I think there's going to be little gripes. So I think if you get someone said to me, if you get like 80% things right in a project, you're doing quite well. You're going to get elements of things that won't work perfectly. So there's going to be something. So yeah.
But also in this case, I think people are generally getting more conditions to that sort of thing in cafes, aren't they? So for example, Boston Tea Party, just a Southwest thing. They don't do any disposable cups now, and you have to pay their £10 takeaway.
Yeah. So it's a way that's so because I know this health setting's different to a high street shop or a high street brand, but it's the same sort of thing. They're doing the same. They're putting their loyalty card stamps up. That's not through like anything sustainable. It's just because of everyone's jumping on this will cost so much more to produce, so we're putting it up. But there are letting you have incentives for bringing in your own mug because I don't think they really want to buy the paper cups. So it's just what other shops are doing. So why can't we do the same? And the only thing that doesn't work here so much, I always think the national so NHS, how would it look if we ran it like a business? If each sector was their own business, so this is your own business, how would you spend your budget? How would you invest into disposable items? How would you spend money? How would you make ways of saving money, saving waste, reducing all your overheads? If you sort of took that approach, I wonder how differently things might look. Because that's always the same. You wouldn't run a business the same as some things that are running in some elements you see at work. So yeah,
I think that's an amazing question to ask.
Yeah.
Because bringing an ownership mentality to any part of the NHS can only help. So
yeah, sure. Yeah,
that's one of the reasons we work so well together in the delivering best value team, because we're all. I think we all have that mindset, and we all. So
yeah,
that's a really good point.
And I think it's a weird thing to say, but the financial situation of our trust has helped us in a way. Because people are thinking that way. And when you've got the chief exec saying you need to tighten your purse strings, you need to make savings here, there. Maybe a bit more pressure can be put on them, even more so. Even more so, that could maybe followed up with visits to each department saying, look, what are you actively doing? But that's fueled it. You've seen it. I've seen a change in the last month, I think, of people more willing to work in ways to save money, to save waste, because I think the situation we're in and the conversations that we've had, which has helped, which is good.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the case to some extent around the whole country, right? Because it's not just our individual trusts. NHS England and other NHS organisations as well.
We're all in the same boat.
That will lead to more improvements and more changes because it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, sure. Shall I go through the ideas that I've got?
Can you pick out maybe a couple, like two or three of the?
I'm gonna see if I can find some Right. This is a very simple one. It's not going to cost, it's not going to save thousands, but it was, at the minute, we've got a software in our catering outlets which pumps out receipt, regardless if you want one.
Right.
It sounds a weird thing, but it's a software issue. So all it is, I think it's just a change of software. But however, we are spending about £6,000 a year on unnecessary till row. So this could be addressed quite quickly. I'm not sure. £6,000.
6,000. Okay.
£6,000. Sorry, I said 60. It's £6,000 a year we spend on till row.
Right.
And if you go to the catering outlets at our trust, you'll see the till with a bag next to it catching all the thermal label till row.
Okay.
Which can't be recycled.
Can't be recycled.
No, it's got like a shiny texture on it. It's like a thermal roll.
Wow. Okay.
It's waste either way, if it can be recycled or not. It's waste. But
right.
It's 6,000. So it just needs software. Software needs where we can just, that element can be turned off. I've asked, can this element be turned off as facility to say you don't need a receipt? Apparently no, because the till won't function without pumping out receipt every time. Funny thing is, the tills are from a company called Sharp, which supply the till row. So you can see why.
Designed to work that way.
A design. It's a clever design for at their end, yeah. So that's just a software thing. So that's something the catering are looking into.
Okay. And is that 6,000 just in printing the receipt, or that printing and paper costs?
That's buying. That's physically buying the receipts. That doesn't include any waste.
Oh, okay. So the financial benefit could be bigger than that, and also the environmental benefit as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've started a trial of office bin reduction. Again, this is not going to be a huge one, but it's a better process where in Noiscott House, as you know, we've got 4 stories, umpteen offices. Each desk or every other desk had a black bin only, every single one. And each one was just filled with a few bits and pieces. So what I've done is removed 30 bins and installed extra recycle bins in the communal areas like the kitchen. So basically, people have to just get up if they want to put something in the bin, like they do if they're going to use the toilet or the kitchen, and just place something in the bin there. So this reduces the amount of bin liners that are emptied, bin liners needed, and you're encouraging recycling. So if you've got a black bin in an office, anything and everything can go in there. If you've got a choice in a communal area of recycling, then more things will be recycled. So at the minute we've done a trial at Noiscott. We've reduced 30 bin liners. I was a bit naive on this one, where I didn't do a before and after figure of what we were recycling and what was in general waste. However, I did sort of count them. But we have done a proper trial in the estates department for 2 weeks. I counted how many black bin liners I was emptying as opposed to recycle bags, and weighed each, because they have got multiple bins. This is like a before scene before we do anything about it. So we want to do like a before and after shot. So basically we want, because recycling is less to produce, general waste costs more, so we want to encourage people to recycle anyway, but we want to gauge to see what the savings would be. Less bin liners, less bins, quicker for the domestic cleaner to empty bins because there's less of them. So we need to sort of gauge what sort of savings is come from that, and then roll it out across all the offices. We know it's a winner. We know it's the right thing to do. Some things you just know, it's just like, why are we? I had an office here. There was 10 desks there, 10 bins, black bins. I was like, it's that awkward question, right? What I've proposed to do is remove most of your bins, but it's gone down well with everyone. But then with that, it comes to explaining yourself umpteen times why you're doing it, which is fine. It educates people to why we're making changes, and they get it, because you do a lot of this at home. Again, you come to here, and the things you do at home you don't necessarily do here. So that could be quite a good one, because there's a lot of offices and there's a lot of outbuildings. If I just go through the rest of them, what else have we got? So we've basically got a waste contractor at the minute tied in. I think it's up for renewal in the spring, possibly the summer. So with that, we want to build in or look at the possibility of reusable sharp spins.
Okay.
Because at the minute, the sharp spins here in our trust will just get filled with sharps, obviously, and then taken away, and then we purchase more sharp spins. So there's a company that will provide the service, will provide the bins in the way of a safe sharp spin. So it will stop you putting your fingers in when it's full. So sharp stick to stop or reduce stick injuries. And they basically take away the sharp spins. They'll be sterilized, provide you with another bin, and then just go around and cycle. So we need to look at the pros and cons of that and the savings, any savings to be made there. I think North Devon may have trialed this in the past, and I think other trusts are doing it as a thing. So we just need to weigh up, can that be built into our current provider of waste? Is there something they can do for us? So that will be looked at sort of fairly soon, because we did pinpoint this to be looked at in January, knowing that the renewal will be coming up fairly soon. So I think it's the summer, to be fair. Yeah, so that could be a good one. So it just reduces the amount of sharp spins you buy in. You can just basically use the same one over and over, in a way of being a company sterilizing it for you and bringing it back. Obviously there's a cost to that, but then you're not buying umpteen sharp spins in high quantities. So yeah, that could be a good one. Bed linen, we're looking at that next week with Johnny, the laundry manager. Some wards will just replace bed linen in the mornings, every bed, regardless. And some are quite stricter on it. I think there's a 3-day rule. Unless it's physically soiled or dirty, you can leave the linen for 3 days before. We did a time and motion on this one. It takes, just to strip a bed, remake a bed, if it's just that easy, would be about 5 to 6 minutes. But some wards are doing every bed every day, even on this discharge day, if that patient is going home and they're still having the beds changed. So we just need to look to see what they're doing, educate them on better practice. This would save a lot of linen, which the trusts do need. Linen being left around, linen even being used to clean up spillages. So we invest in spillage kits that we can reuse, because if there's a spillage somewhere, people just grab a towel or blanket and throw it on the floor. Well, this has to be laundered, and sometimes this can damage the towels, because if they've got like floor grit, it can damage them. So it's just emphasizing the fact that there's a better practice here. We don't have to do that. And when we go around with a laundry manager we're going to 3 or 4 wards next week, just to sort of educate people to this is the better practice. And then we'll filter it down to the matrons, maybe at Care Matters, to go back to the wards and say that this is really the policy we need to adhere to, because it is not very cost effective just to keep changing beds all the time, regardless of places going home, just when they're sold, or it is a period of time, or that a bed needs to change. So that could be quite a good saving as well. Again, all this will have to be, this is in process. We need to do a before and after shot of what we are saving, not just money, resources, energy, water. You need to factor in everything that you're saving. So yeah. Awesome. The food waste hydrator is another good one. I've got a quote coming through to buy or lease a food hydrator. We spoke about that before. I'm not sure we spoke about that one before we start recording.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Maybe. So I reiterate that one. So we produce around 190 kilos of food waste a day in the hospital, which goes into 240 litre bins. It gets taken away at £14 a bin, and we currently spend, I think it's about £16,000 a year on just having our food waste removed. Where if we invest in buying or leasing a food hydrator, you can put in 100, they'll fit more, but what it does is you put in the food waste, you switch the machine on, 12 hours later, it reduces it by 80 to 90%, and then turns it into like a slightly, I think it's got a couple of percent of moisture in, but it's usable compost.
Okay.
And it comes out like a bit like granules. which then you can use or sell. So basically, you're reducing your food waste by 80 to 90%. But we need to weigh up: is it better to buy one, lease one? So the food waste comes from obviously the food outlets, the wards from the Burlage trolleys when they have their patient meals. So you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What we haven't got is food waste as much in office areas and or areas off site. So that maybe could be something we can introduce in the form of like food waste buckets that can be put into the food hydrator. So then that diverts the food waste going into general waste bin. So you sort of taking an element of waste that you have to pay for to go into like a dehydrator. So that's, again, early days on that one, but I'm quite excited about that one because I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's having the space. It's very easy to use the machine. It's basically just pressing a button, filling the machine, pressing a button, then pressing a button once the 12-hour period is up to let out the granules of compost. It's just having time, space. We need to engage with the waste manager and the catering manager to see where we're going to place this thing. But it's early days, but it's a good one. I'm sort of quite keen on this one. So yeah,
that sounds really exciting.
I
think we're running out of time, Kev. So is it all right if we
that's fine.
Zoom out and ask you one final question to
go on.
wrap up what we've talked about?
That went quick, didn't it? Yeah.
It did really quick. Yeah, I can't believe it. Well, it didn't help that I forgot to press the record button for 5 seconds. But
that's fine.
So one thing that I really admire about the way you work and that stood out to me in our conversation is I hear you talk a lot about small work items when we work together.
Yeah.
And then small's relative, right? Actually, the small work items you talk about are often in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Or thousands at least. But I think this is quite unique to the way you work and in the area that you work in, because a lot of people will have like 1 or 2 big projects, transformation, quality improvement, or whatever, that can occur over quite a long period of time. But the way you do it seems more entrepreneurial. You've got loads of projects on the go at once. If they don't work, they don't work. You've got lots of others to
you move on. There's been a few of those.
Thinking about how other people, not necessarily in your area of work, but certainly in healthcare transformation in general, what advice would you give to someone who wanted to replicate that way of working, juggle multiple projects at the same time, knowing that some will work and some won't?
So in the early days, you sort of eliminated the ones that didn't work, but you just invested time into trying to make it work. And at some point, you've got to give up and think this isn't feasible. You could be really passionate about an idea, and I had a really good idea about something back along about reusable aprons, but it just wasn't feasible. The cost to launder, the cost to buy, who's going to launder them, it just didn't work out. The sums didn't add up. So you just had to hold your hands up. As much as I hated it, I'm thinking that's not going to work. This won't work. I've tried everything. It won't work. But with the small work items, as I call it, I think it's just like having a can-do attitude. When you look at something and you think, this is dead easy, this will work, it just needs a bit of thought, we can do it, no problem. Let's just do it. This is the way I roll. It's just like, not just, and then I've been reined back a little bit to thinking, right, Kev, you need to think about every single element. And I'm thinking, I think that more that way now, because sometimes it was a bit like, let's throw something at the wall, see if it sticks, let's see if it works. Now it's like, we've got to put a bit of effort and
a bit of thought,
knowledge, but a thought process in it, a trial or something. So I do rein back sometimes because I'm thinking, I get a bit overexcited thinking this is great. I'm sort of more of a cup half full person, so I know we can do this, it's not a problem. But when you've got, because when people have got big projects on the go, they've got 2 a year or 1 a year with an end point, knowing that this project will come off. My way of working is, that's great, but I don't think I could wait that long.
Sure.
It sounds a little funny, but because I like to just deliver each time. And I like to think that when I've got like 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 jobs, if you give me like a period of 6 months, I want to have done 4 or 5 of those. I want to just,
and 70%
get them out there.
Give me
the next, give me the next one. And when that list gets smaller, I want a bigger list. I want more ideas coming in, and I just want to keep just pushing away. I think you just got to be that sort of person. You got to be enthusiastic. You got to be, and it does. Even when you've got someone who's very enthusiastic like myself, And when you've taken a hit from people who don't want to get involved,
yeah,
it does get to you a bit, and
sure.
you just need to dust yourself off and then go up for the fight again.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, when you get people saying, let's all push together, let's do this, like the chair reupholstery idea, that was a very short space of time, really, 2 months, for everyone just thinking, this is a great idea, let's just do it. And there was about 5 people involved throughout over 2 months, and everyone said, we're happy with this is great. This is what we're in. And I think we've got to the end result where it's a thing now. It's live, it's working, I'm hoping. I just need to keep to monitor. That's the next thing, to monitor it, to make sure it is continuously working, not just to forget about that idea. I think you just need to keep your eye on the ball and just thinking,
right,
let's just make sure this is still working, let's maintain it. But,
yeah. And also there might be secondary opportunities that you didn't identify until it was all in place.
Yeah, there's a few things come about it. Yeah, because with the reupholstery, I'll put in all the jobs which I thought would be every single element that could be done, like the chair to be reupholstered, the back section, the front section, the bottom, the full cover. And someone said to me, "What about the footstools, Kev? They're not on there." I went, "Good point, but I'll put them on there. It's fine.
There we go.
I can go and get a quote. We can get some photographs, and we can add that on. Not a problem." So, but I'm glad they come up with that one. So
yeah. Well, you mean you only discovered that by doing it in the first place, right? And just,
yeah. So you're not going to do everything perfectly.
The feedback allows you to correct course. And
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much for talking to me and talking about the work you've done and continue to do.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, sorry if it was a bit messy. I think
this
one of these I've done, so it's probably going to get a bit
just hope that my input was all right there. But yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah, I personally found it really interesting. Hopefully other people will as well.
Yeah, good.
And even better would be if there's someone else watching from another NHS trust or another organisation that can piggyback on the pioneering work you've done and help patients in other organisations.
Because I think some trusts are, it was fair to say some trusts are ahead of us and some probably behind us to what they've done.
Yeah.
So and it's I do try to sort of network a little bit with other trusts to see what they are doing. But then again, sometimes other trusts are allowed to do things that we can't. So it's not always that easy. But it's good to have those connections and conversations. So yeah.
There it is. Well, we're gonna by producing ideas and doing what you do and testing them, it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? Some of them just don't work out because the timing's not right or the right people aren't involved or whatever it might be. But when if we can keep the ideas flowing and keep trying new stuff, then
well,
hit some wins every now and again.
That's it. Yeah, it's nice when you get those wins. Yeah, it's a nice feeling.
It is, definitely. Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Kev.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll be in touch and share this with you afterwards.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, right.
Awesome.
Right, have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
See you there. Cheers. See you there.